Welcome back to part 2 of the Boys Who Get It podcast, answering some of the most common and important questions when it comes to the gym, fitness, health, and wellness space. If you didn't see part 1, go check it out. It's linked below. We're going to pick up right where we left off. Christian, you just asked a great question about kind of some of the craziest things you've seen in the gym. I want to keep the momentum going, though. You said you had another one. Let's hear what it is.
Yeah, this one's a little bit more personal than the last one. I've had a couple of people ask me, do you really need to bulk? And I think the first thing that kind of pops into my mind, one, I have done a bulking and I've done a cutting before in my fitness journey. I'm actually on a cut right now. But I did, however, do a bulk for like 8 years.
Christian, for the uninitiated, explain what a bulk and a cut is.
So basically, it's all in terms of your caloric needs, right? You have a maintenance level that kind of keeps you pretty steady. So you're neither going to gain weight or lose weight if you're at your certain maintenance level of calories. For me personally, I am 6'3", 215. So my maintenance is around 3,200 calories. So if I'm eating at that level every single day, I'm not necessarily gaining or losing weight. I can still gain muscle, but the weight component is kind of non-existent. Now, if you're going to go into bulk, usually what people say is you're in a caloric surplus. All right. So you're eating above your maintenance calories, whether that's, 500, 200, 1,000. And then caloric deficit is you're eating below your maintenance. So now that we've kind of got that out of the way, there are correct ways to do a bulk. I, from personal experience, have not done it the correct way. I think, especially like when newer people ask me about bulking, when I was younger, I used to tell people just eat everything in sight. Eat as much as you possibly can. And then you'll get bigger. You'll get bigger, but you're going to gain a lot more extra stuff than you probably bargained for. So that's what I would call as a dirty bulk. You're just eating anything in sight just to continue to eat at the caloric surplus. A more evidence-based way to do it is to be in a slight caloric surplus if you're eating like 200 to 300 calories above your maintenance. Because it gets to a certain point where you're in that dirty bulk and eventually you have a lot of body fat that you need to get rid of. And whenever you go on that first cut after doing a dirty bulk, it's a lot harder to get rid of all the body fat. It's not a fun journey. It's not funny. But I think it also plays into, like, for me personally, when I know I've talked about body dysmorphia before on the podcast, but when you're like, when you're skinny and you're small and you just want to get bigger, the only thing that you hear is to eat as much as you possibly can. Just eat. But it gets to a certain point as you get older, you can't do that. Yeah. It does a lot more harm than it does good. So that's what happened to me. I got to a point where I got to like 250, which was my highest weight I've ever been. Still, muscle, all that good stuff. But I carried a lot more body fat than I actually wanted to. And so now I've been on a cut for like 7-ish months. It's been a long cut. I've got it down to 215. But it was a long journey to get to there. Long journey. All right. Cause then you also start cutting, then you realize, oh, I didn't have as much muscle or I wasn't as big as I actually thought because you had a lot of fat over your muscle. So it's a mind thing. But I know you guys, I think, Michael Paul, I know you've done bulks before. I'm not sure about, well, Dwayne, you've been just bulking in general. But what ways have you guys done it? Were you guys kind of in my boat of just kind of eating everything in sight, or were you guys a little bit more strategic? Hopefully better than I was.
Dwayne, do you want to take this? Because mine was a little bit similar to Christian's where I bulked and cut. Yours is a little bit of a different perspective.
Yeah.
So because mine is a little similar to Christian's, I kind of want to hear your perspective first. And then obviously I can kind of talk about some things
for sure
beyond that.
Mine's kind of similar too. Because really, I would say like my bulking days are more so in college. Because that's when I was trying to like hit like a certain weight goal before I graduated. So I kind of did that way. Could I have done it a better way? Yes, definitely could have. Was it like a dirty bulk? I wouldn't say necessarily.
It was dirty.
So what? Yeah, not me. So what I did, basically, I would have like the same like 3 foods basically that I'll rotate like week on out, and then like just eat that kind of stuff. And then I would make sure I'll eat the same kind of snacks as well. I did like measure stuff in a sense, and I was using the like my fitness app back then to kind of help and kind of make sure I was getting like the calories that I wanted to. So I say that I probably would have done a little bit better. But I think I did the best I could at that time with the knowledge that I had. So it wasn't too dirty, anything like that. And obviously it helped me put on said weight. But yeah, a lot of times the diet that consisted of was obviously I was doing like eggs. I did a lot of like pasta. And then I did a lot of like burgers. And then my main snack of choice was usually like oatmeal with like some chocolate chips or something in there. And then I did, I love trail mix. So I did a lot of trail mix as well. So I think really just all that. Yeah. So all that's kind of what kind of helped me bulk in a sense. But yeah. That's
now, do you think if you were to bulk today, for example, what would you do different? Or what would you kind of tell people, hey, don't do this, but do this a little bit better than you did kind of that first time? Because obviously now you have a lot more knowledge. You've been a personal trainer. You actually have helped people do this. What's your kind of quick, very high level tips of maybe someone who's thinking, first of all, do I need to bulk? But also if I'm deciding, yes, I want to gain 10 pounds in the next whatever it is, your kind of initial, very quick, high level tips.
Yeah. I guess for me is I probably would have changed some of the meal prep that I was doing. So a lot of times I was just using like just regular pasta, which now I probably would have done like red lentil or something like that along those lines. Cause you get a little bit more protein cause the lentil, the bean factor of it. And personally, I probably don't need that much carbs and all that kind of stuff. So I probably would do some like substitutions like that here and there. I think I would do a better job of like making sure like protein was high. Cause like now I'm a coffee drinker. If y'all didn't know, Christian, did you know I used to take a sip of coffee?
I don't think he did.
I don't think he did.
I take a sip of coffee.
Group, so.
I don't think he did. But I would do like, I'll put protein here and there more like spread out through the day. So like I would do like I said, I do protein coffee now. So that kind of help me get my intake there as well. And then I would have done like creatine back then. So I didn't do creatine. So that definitely would have helped for sure.
And if you don't know about creatine, we broke it down in episode 1. So if you haven't heard or you're confused, please go watch that.
Yeah.
But the reason why I think it's Dwayne's experience is important is because it's a little bit different than I think Christian and I's. We kind of hit that bulk pretty hard. I think I was a little bit, because Christian, like you said, 6'3", I'm 6'1", I'm 2 inches shorter. So the weight is carried very differently.
Yeah.
So I was around this. The frustrating thing was when I was bulking, kind of really committed to it, I was going to a gym and I was weighing myself on the scale at the gym. And so my like numbers, the increase in the number was accurate, but the actual weight that was displayed apparently was not. So like 1 or 2 weeks before I stopped bulking, I was stepped on the scale and some guy in the locker room was like, hey, you shouldn't use that. It's really off. It's like almost 20 pounds off for some people. And I was like, okay, well, that's really
that's crazy
because I've been using this the entire bulk. So I really don't know exactly how heavy I am right now. I definitely felt and looked very heavy. The scale said like 250-ish. Like I was around on that scale. I have no idea. I don't think I was 270. I think that was way too heavy. I would say maybe between like 250, 260 is kind of where I hovered. The nice thing is, and this is what's tough too, I think when most people either think about the bulk or kind of, again, whether you need a bulk or not, I think depends on each person. The trade-off you get with how you look is you are so much stronger and have so much more energy usually. You're eating so much food.
A lot of fuel.
You're fueling yourself so much that you can lift heavier. You might fill out your clothes a little bit better because obviously you're putting on more weight than just muscle. But I think to answer Christian's question, I really don't think that's necessary. If you're a competitive bodybuilder, if you're competing in the space, then maybe. But that is part of a sport, just like a track athlete. You have to run the mile. You have to run those types of things to build up that endurance. I really would say, like for the normal person, because of the risks that could come with that bulk, doing it dirty, just stuffing yourself with food, I really don't think it's that necessary. No. Now, if you feel like you're very, very skinny and you're like, I want to put on all this weight and you can do it in a sustained way, I think that's fine. But if you're looking at yourself in the mirror, let's say it's October and you're like, I want to bulk and cut before summer of next year, that's something a little bit different too, because you kind of have a goal in your mind. You're obviously going to cut and bring it down. Yeah. But when people go on these bulks for years and years on end, I just see it end up do more harm than good.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
So that dirty bulk versus some people will say that clean bulk, like Christian said, it's very hard to know what that looks like if you've never done it before.
Yeah.
What you're doing. So talking to people or like trying to ask other people who have done it in the past of like, Dwayne, what I would do differently now is what I would recommend to most people, because I don't really think it's super necessary to bulk.
No.
You're going to compete.
Yeah, and that's what saying earlier, like just a slight caloric surplus. I think it's good. And then also, just because you're bulking doesn't mean you also shouldn't be tracking. Because that's one thing for sure I didn't do in my early days of bulking. I still think you need to track, making sure you're hitting your macros, and even more so important because anytime you're above your maintenance, whether it's you're above your maintenance or you're below, anytime you're outside of your level of maintenance, it's important to still track your macronutrients as well. So as you get a little bit more advanced at like looking at that stuff, your micronutrients are also just as important in balancing hormones and differences because you're eating less than your actual normal maintenance. So just some caveats,
So tell people what that is, what those are.
What your micronutrients?
Yeah, like some people might not know what that means.
Yeah, like your minerals, your vitamins, just like your vitamin D, your B12, K, all that good stuff. Those are also good, important to pay attention to, and also things that you can buy supplements for. But just be careful because that's also a rabbit hole as well. Because I know we talked about creatine in the previous episode, which creatine also has gotten a lot more expensive than it used to be. So if you're also really trying to pay attention to micronutrients, try to look at things that in your normal diet of things that you're lacking, and then maybe get supplements for those type of things. You don't have to get a supplement for every single thing when it comes to like your vitamins and minerals. Maybe usually just, a daily vitamin's good, and then maybe one or two extra more specific detailed type of things are good to look at.
Yeah. And use blood work as a guide too. So, don't just like guess like, oh, I think I need this. Like, get something.
I think everyone needs to like, as you get older, I just think it's regardless of like, being in the gym, whatever it is, just trying to be a healthy, average person. I think it's important for everybody to kind of go and continuously get their blood checked, every year, every 6 months, every time you see your PCP, whatever it is, make sure you guys pay attention to that because
for those who don't
know, get away from you.
What's a PCP?
Your primary care provider.
Primary care. And really, we're talking to you men that are listening.
Yes. Go to the doctor, man.
Go to the freaking doctor.
Take care of yourself. Come on, man.
Don't be so ignorant.
Don't be silly, man.
Don't be a cornball.
You know about cornball, so I appreciate it.
Dwayne looks like a cornball.
That's a great question from Christian. Dwayne, I also know you have something as we move on to what audiences have asked us or people want to know about. Let's hear what you have.
Yeah, it's kind of in the same lane as Christians as far as bulk and food and all that kind of stuff. But surprisingly enough, I've been stopped a couple of times. And random people will ask me this question. But it has to do with food shopping. It's like what to look for when you're shopping for food. What are some like your go-to meal preps, et cetera, et cetera. So I know we all do it kind of differently. So interested to see how you guys do it nowadays. Especially college was different for obvious reasons. But yeah, I guess like personally for me, because like y'all said, talking about bulks and all that kind of stuff, I'm not afraid of calories. So, I'll go for something that's like more, that's high caloric per se. And then I definitely look for like protein higher stuff too. So I really kind of look at those two to try to get a good balance. But I don't know, I guess before I dive into all that kind of stuff, like what is y'all's general idea or game plan when food shopping or getting ready to meal prep?
Well, first, I think that protein and like your protein intake in general, I think has gotten absolutely like crazy over the last couple of years. The amount of things that have protein in it now, the marketing is absolutely like skyrocketed compared to what it was a couple of years ago, and just what protein intake is. And I think a lot of people get more protein than they probably actually need for their bodies. You really don't need that much protein. I think like the typical standard is anywhere between like 0.6 to 0.8 grams per pound. I think that's like where you should be. For the people out there getting like 1.5, I think you don't need that much protein because
and again, break down what you mean for people when you say 0.6, 0.8, 1.
Oh yeah, of your weight. It also depends on actually like if you're cutting or if you're bulking, you can adjust that to basically whatever your goal weight is. So if I'm 215 but I want to be 195, I can adjust my protein intake of what I need to be like 0.6 or 0.8 of the 195 that I'm trying to hit. You don't have to keep it at what you're currently at. But if you also want to bulk, you can raise the same thing as well. But yeah, I think that's important to say because like all the protein bars, the chips, like the breads nowadays, the protein coffee, Dwayne, just all that stuff. It's just, most of it's marketing anyway. Cause especially like protein oatmeal, if you look at protein oatmeal for those who you like oatmeal, and you look at a regular, like quick 1 minute thing of oatmeal, one has, 5 grams protein, and then the other has 10, but the other one with 10 is labeled with more protein. It's really not that big of a difference. You're probably also going to get more calories in the other one anyway that you probably don't want, depending on whatever your goal is. So just keep, read the labels on stuff. That's what I'm trying to say. Just
I'm glad you said that, because there's been like a crazy like protein, I want to say like frenzy or rush, maybe. A lot of times companies will market something as like, oh, protein, like blah, blah, blah protein. But if you look, like you said, like label to label, it's only like 3 extra grams, but it's protein high, or that's the protein. So definitely don't just take it and run with it. Definitely like look at the labels and look for yourself.
100%.
I think when it comes to the meal prep side of things, it's okay to prioritize protein, and it's okay to be like, hey, I don't need to have 50 grams for every meal, or it's not worth it. It's okay to, and if you need the snacks to supplement, if you need to buy a protein, protein powder, whatever.
Yeah, it's perfect. Like A-okay.
Totally understandable if you want to do that. But to Christian's point, you don't need, figure out what works best for you, obviously, what your body can actually handle and digest, because some people, their stomach gets upset when you eat certain foods. So I do think it's important when it comes to meal prepping. The best advice, I think, is just keeping it as simple as possible. I'm very lucky in that I have a very simple palate. So I'm eating the same thing every single day.
Right.
Not everyone is like that. So what I have found for some of those types of people is to figure out maybe the type of protein you enjoy most. So do you like chicken, turkey, beans, tofu, those types of things, those foods, and then you kind of build around that.
Yeah.
What do I like what is my carb going to be? What are kind of the fruits and vegetables I'm going to eat? And you cycle those through. It makes it so much easier to grocery shop. Knowing, okay, I know these 5 types of proteins I'm going to get every single week. I can cook them differently. I can add different sides into it. I think that is way easier than constantly trying to be like, oh, well, I had these last week. Now I have to think of something new or different this week. And then, I didn't do that at the store. Let me just go eat out. Because it takes a lot of time and energy and effort to make your meals every day. So if you can just take maybe the mental load out of it and say, hey, I'm just going to kind of stick to this. I find keeping it simple is the easiest. And I'm a little different than Dwayne and Christian. I have always hated counting calories. I've never really tracked it. I tracked it once, and I think once you kind of track it once for like,
you'll kind of know it. That's if you're consistent. Yeah.
Exactly. If you're consistent in eating it, and then also if you track it for that week or two, now I never have to track again because I eat those same foods. I already know kind of what the calorie is roughly. I think it just takes the whole mental side out of it. It makes it a lot easier just keeping it simple.
Preach. Great question. I think that was from you, Dwayne, right?
Yeah, it was a great question. So
so last but not least, Michael Paul,
exactly.
what do you have as a question that you wanted to talk about today? I hope it's good so you can end on a good note. But
I saw on Reddit that it kind of really stuck out to me because all 3 of us have talked about this before. Again, from r/beginner fitness. I like going to this subreddit because a lot of the questions they asked, I have had in the past. And I'm like, okay, how do I figure and navigate this kind of very complicated world of fitness? This one, it really hits home and resonates because it's something a lot more recently I've had to navigate. And we've already talked about this, is how do you find the energy to work out with a 9-to-5 job? 9 to 5, 9 to 6, 8 to 6, whatever it may be. So I'm going to read kind of the story. It's a little bit longer, but I think it's important. I'm pretty new to all of this and just started hitting the gym consistently a few weeks ago. I work at an office, so I basically spend my entire day sitting in a chair, staring at a screen. And by the time my shift ends, my brain is just completely fried. The weird thing is that I'm not physically tired at all, but the mental exhaustion makes the couch look so tempting as soon as I get home. Every single day is like a massive mental war just to pack my bag, leave the house again. And I've noticed that if I sit down for even 5 minutes after work, my motivation drops to 0 and I end up skipping the session entirely, which sucks because I actually feel amazing when I manage to force myself to go. And I was thinking about maybe switching to morning sessions before work, but waking up at 6 a.m. sounds brutal. And I don't know if I can sustain that long term. And I'm curious how you guys managed to build the discipline where you were first starting out especially with those who have sedentary or mentally draining jobs? Do you go straight home from the office without stopping by the house first? Or is there something else that helps you push through that afternoon brain fog? I'd really appreciate any advice and just hearing how you structured your routine to make it stick. Now, there are a couple of really good comments, but before I kind of get into that, I'd love to hear y'all's initial thoughts and opinions on that, because we have, I think the majority of our lifting careers has been post-college. So after we've been in a 9 to 5 and kind of working consistently. So we have a lot of experience walking to a gym like in college and it being so easy to do versus, okay, now I have no time basically. Everything is a sacrifice when it comes to when I go to the gym. So I'd love to hear yours. Let's go to Christian first because he actually goes in office. Then we'll go to Dwayne and then see if he has anything unique to say this time, but we'll see.
He never does. Anyway,
stay tuned.
The easiest things that I have, that I personally have found to make it easier for me to go. Cause I know we talked about in the past, like it gets down to like having motivation versus being like disciplined. I am definitely more in the camp of being disciplined because a lot of times I'm not motivated to go to the gym. But what helps me be disciplined is kind of taking the thinking out of it, right? So when I go to the office, before I go to the office that day, the night before, I'm usually putting my gym bag together already. So I'll have like, my gym bag ready to go, the shoes ready to go for when I get home and change. And also, I'll have the gym clothes ready to go as well. So that way, when I get home, everything is part of a task that, I need to get done before I leave. So I literally just grab it, get my clothes, and I'm out the door. Cause I know if I get home and I sit down, we're probably not going that day. Especially like, again, like, cause jobs are in generally it's just mentally draining to know that even when you're at work, knowing that when I get home, I still have something else that I have to do that night. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to go to the gym. If you're going to go, you also may have to cook, eat dinner, all that stuff. So just being like as prepared as possible and taking the thinking out of it, I have found makes it easier for me to stay disciplined.
Good stuff. Dwayne, sure. Dwayne, yours is a little bit more unique. You work from home. I still think it applies though, because for those who have not worked from home, you can still be very mentally exhausted when that day is over. So what's your perspective on that?
For sure. And I guess because I used to work in office for a little bit before I became remote. So something that helped me before I talked about the, remote people is that Christian talked about like packing up a gym bag and all that stuff. So when you get home, you just grab it and go. I used to pack it up and take it with me to work. And so then I'll just go straight to the gym instead of going home and then to the gym. Cause, at the time I was leaving like 5 minutes, give or take, from the office. So it'd been easy for me just to go home and then just to be like relaxed and then like, let me just chill. I'm already here, yada, yada, yada. So it's just a lot easier just to take my stuff and just go, from that way. So, but to fast forward to working from home, yes, it is very tempting to, once I log off, just to walk a couple steps to my bed or to the couch and lay down, kick my feet up, maybe take a nap here or there, But I will say something that kind of helped me, is I used to change my split to where I would be working out on the weekends. And so like I would start on like a Wednesday and then I'll do, Wednesday through Sunday. And so that kind of helped me too. And so if you are not as motivated and then you're going, you will have like the weekends to where like you could wake up, eat a good breakfast and then go to the gym. And then you'll have more energy because also you're not clocked in to your 9 to 5. So that's something that was pretty helpful for me. And then also too, it's a lot more clear on the weekends as opposed to if you're going at like 5 p.m. So it also helped too with the consistency part of it for me. Yeah, man. I mean, without getting too deep, obviously like body dysmorphia was a big, regardless, I still had it regardless if I was going to office or not. So that was still a big, push and motivation, to go. I was working from home because again, if you work from home, it's easy to be more, I don't want to say like lazy, but not to be as active and not have like your routines that you stick to. So all that kind of helped me as well.
And to your point too, before I kind of talk about my thoughts, when you work out 2 days on the weekend, you really only have to work out like 1 day in the week to, I think, really start to like build the habits and get a lot of the benefits from working out. I think 2 days, if that's all you can have, is way better than 0. So don't feel bad if it's only the weekend. But when you do it on the weekends, sometimes having that 1 day where you're like, hey, I know on Wednesday, for example, I'm going to work out today. Way different than feeling like Monday through Friday, I have to work out to leave the weekends open. But I just resonate so hard with this because it is such a dilemma like when you've gone to the gym for a little bit and you know how you feel, like in this person's like, I feel amazing when I go to the gym. You know what you're losing out on when you don't go. So you know what, like, hey, I know I feel good, but I feel drained. I think very, very easy things to do, like y'all have said, pack before, plan. I pack the morning of to get everything ready. I unfortunately have just thrown together just some of the worst fits possible because I'm not thinking about it really. I'm just like shirt, short, whatever, really terrible stuff. So I think if you care about how you look, obviously find a better time, maybe the night before when you're cognitively available to pick a good fit. But I think one thing that was very interesting to me is when we were in college, someone in our social group organization that we were a part of, it was not a fraternity to be clear, but was like, hey, even in college, she was like, I kind of go through this as well. One thing I'll do is as soon as I get the urge to work out, or if I know like, hey, on Wednesdays I go work out, is he will drink pre-workout. And because he's drinking the pre-workout, he's like, okay, I have to go to the gym now. Like I cannot sit on the couch and watch TV with all this pre-workout flowing through me. And I don't recommend that for everybody, but I think there are things you can do like that, where you bring your clothes to work, you know, you're going straight to the gym. If you can drink your pre-workout, maybe if you do use it, that's a whole other, we could probably make a whole episode on just pre-workout. I personally am in the pre-workout camp. I like using pre-workout when it has good ingredients and used correctly. There have been a lot of times where I felt like if I didn't have it, it would be way easier to just not go, because you get done with your day and you're like, coffee to me doesn't quite hit the same as like a pre-workout as like I'm drinking this for the gym. I'm getting a lot of energy. I can kind of push through it, but it doesn't get any easier. Unfortunately, it only gets harder the more responsibilities you have. But the nice thing is, when you're so used to making it a part of your day-to-day life, it does get easier to build that in moving forward. Instead of waiting until the perfect time, quote unquote.
Right.
If you can start to already build in those habits, it's much easier to maintain it than all of a sudden start doing it.
For sure. And something else to try too, which I think we all have done before. Actually, I know we all done before, is to try give working out in the mornings a shot. See if you want to work out in the mornings. No,
it's tough. It's better than nothing.
I would say, because if you do
it, 10 minutes is hard.
Yes, exactly.
Oh yeah.
Everything after that, especially when you get back from your workout before you start work, usually that feeling is amazing. Like, man, it's only 7 and I've already got a good workout in.
Right.
It's that first 10 minutes when you see that clock, and anything in the fives, the first in the fives, you're like,
it also depends on the group you're doing to that day, like whatever muscle group you're doing.
Because let the record show, again, Christian and I used to live together, and then we used to work out in the mornings together sometimes. And so he knew if he didn't see my light on, I wasn't going. I was like, you're going solo today. It is hard.
So, but again, I think if you're in a similar battle as that, you're definitely not alone. Everyone, I think, struggles with it. I think it's very rare people have a job that works naturally with going to the gym. There's so much that goes into the gym as a hobby. It's not really conducive to normal 9 to 5. Any way you can do that, whether it's before or after. I know some people do it in the middle of like their lunch break. They can take an hour. But I think it's good to know that you don't have to go every day after work. You don't have to work out 7 days a week to get the results. So there's a lot of ways you can kind of be creative with your splits, for example, or the muscle groups you're hitting, as long as it's relatively healthy. Because I think you can abuse anything like pre-workout or that type of stuff. Be really creative with adding that stuff in, trying to figure out, again, if I'm going straight to work, I'm not thinking about it. It's a part of my routine. It's not something I have to, mull over. Is way different than kind of getting home. You sit on that couch even for 5 minutes after a long day.
It's a GG.
Hey, you might be done. So wrap it up.
Very, very easy to do. It looks so comfortable. But I do think mental side on top of the physical benefits you get from going to the gym when you know that is really tempting is extremely rewarding. So I do think it is worth it. You don't have to be a bodybuilder. You don't have to be some elite whatever. Just going to get a good workout in, or get the blood flowing, or just walking on the treadmill for 10 or 15 minutes is way easier to just kind of go and do a little bit versus kind of this huge mountain you have to climb. Like, I have to get this really intense workout and everything has to be to failure, yada, yada, is just not the way to continue to go long term. If you want to go for a long time, I think being a little bit more compassionate to yourself is always going to blend well. Which, kind of like to Dwayne's point, is not always the easiest thing. Body dysmorphia, all of the comparing yourself to others can be really difficult. We've all gone through it. We all have really impressive results at the gym. We've all done it. We've lifted the weights. We've looked good. People come up to us. Even people who have been doing this for, again, a combined 30 years, we experience it. We feel that exact same way all the time. So again, it doesn't really get easier. I wish it did, but there are absolutely ways you can make it easier. That is the end of part 2 for some of the questions. Again, if you have anything, if you've made it this far, we appreciate it. If there's a question you have, if there is something you want us to dive a little bit deeper into, let us know in the comments after you've liked, subscribed, and told at least 3 friends about the channel. So we do appreciate it. Anything else you'd like to leave our amazing audience with?
If you are just an audio listener, make sure you go and check out the YouTube. Like Michael Paul mentioned, we do have receipts of, what we look like. It's an intro if you didn't know. But yeah, we appreciate, comments. Make sure you guys interacting with our content is really grateful. Helps us to make sure we can put together a great show. So thank you guys for watching and listening.
And we're the boys who get it.
We are the Boys Who Get It podcast. We appreciate you being here. We'll see you next time.